Senator Dianne Feinstein will advance to November's general election as she seeks a fifth full term in the U.S. Senate. Her opponent has not yet been determined. We are also still waiting for results from some of the state's other key races. Dave Bryan is a political reporter for our CBS station in Los Angeles, KCAL. All right, I want to ask you about Senator Feinstein in a moment, but first, let's talk about this development. More than 118,000 voters turned up to the polls, only to find out their names were not on the registered voter list. What exactly happened?
Well, the registrar is saying it was a printing error of some kind, and that these 118,000 names were simply left off of the list of registered voters. And what they're telling people is that they certainly could have voted anyway because they could have gotten a provisional ballot. Well, you know, maybe some people did stick around and do that, but the fact is plenty of others could have just walked off and said, hey, I've had it. I got to get to work. I got to pick up the kids. I can't sit here and start filling out, you know, another registration form to vote with a provisional ballot. So the campaign of Antonio Villaraigosa, of course, the former mayor of L.A., whose support was believed to be mostly here in Los Angeles, they are really nervous tonight and not happy about what's going on.
And in fact, what is he asking for?
Well, what they asked for was for the polls to be open later. They closed at 8 o'clock here on the Pacific Coast. He said, let's leave them open, and then the people, some of the people maybe who didn't get to vote would at least have a chance to cast their ballots. Nope, everything closed at 8 o'clock.
Dave, it's Ed O'Keefe here with Elaine in New York. Thanks for joining us. And we should point out to viewers across the country, Dave is a veteran political correspondent there in Southern California, so you've seen this a few times before. Is there any reason to believe that there was, dirty tricks being played here with this provisional ballot issue, or has this kind of thing happened before?
It has never happened that I can recall, and I've been covering politics in California for about almost 40 years. So no, this has not happened before. The joke going around the newsroom, you know, the minute this story broke was, okay, Russia did it, you know, they hacked in, that's what happened. Now the registrar again is saying it was a printing error of some kind, and there's been no mention of any hacking or any violation of the, integrity of the registry. But 118,000 names left off the registrar, that's a big number. We're not talking about 6 or 8 people here in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, that's not insignificant. I'm going to have my colleague Hari Savugan ask you a question. He's a Democratic strategist, Dave.
Hi. Have any of the campaigns from either the California 39th District or the California 25th District, which overlap with LA County, said anything about or called for the polls to stay open later?
You know, the only one that I heard was former Mayor Villaraigosa. These other campaigns may well have done the same thing, but I just haven't gotten the word on that yet. So I'm not sure, whether they actually did or not. We know that Villaraigosa's campaign specifically asked that the polls be stayed open, and they were not.
All right, well, we want to let people know that Gavin Newsom has advanced to the general election. Not a surprise at all, though, Dave.
No, he's been on top in the polls all along. The question is, will another Democrat like Villaraigosa run second, or will he have a Republican? And during the campaign, it's really interesting. Newsom ran TV ads criticizing John Cox, who was endorsed by President Trump. Well, what did that do? Well, it certainly, Democrats weren't going to vote for John Cox anyway, but what it might have done is gotten more Republicans interested in voting for Cox. And right now, it looks like Cox is running second. Again, still early. We're not saying that's the way it's going to turn out. But Gavin Newsom wanted to run against a Republican rather than another Democrat. He thought it would be more of a breeze.
You mentioned earlier, so former Mayor Villaraigosa wanted to have those polls open later and was denied that request. Do we know why? Because as you point out, 118,000 is not an insignificant number.
All I know is that the registrar said, look, we feel that everybody who wanted to vote was allowed to vote. And he said that the people working in the voting stations were to inform everyone, hey, all you have to do is fill out this form. We'll take a provisional ballot from you. We'll get this cleared up, and your vote will count. So the word from the registrar is there's no damage from this in terms of losing people's votes or people not getting the chance to vote who wanted to. That's the registrar's point of view right now. It's not clear what the ultimate response may be. You know, the Villaraigosa people may be waiting to see how close he gets to running second. If it's a very close race at the end of the night, this could become a much more serious problem.
All right, Dave Bryan, so great to have your insight. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Sure.